The sky over Earth had never been so dark, nor had humanity ever witnessed such terror from above. As the alien ships descended, their sheer size cast shadows over entire cities. These were not the typical crafts humans had encountered in the past. These were behemoths of war, each brimming with advanced weaponry that outclassed anything Earth could muster. Pulses of energy shot from the vessels, effortlessly tearing through Earth's defenses, leaving nothing but smoldering ruins in their wake. The air was thick with smoke, screams, and the relentless hum of alien machinery. Civilians ran in panic, their eyes wide with the horror of seeing their world turned into a battlefield. There was no time to react, no time to prepare. The invasion had begun, and it was unlike anything Earth had ever faced. In the midst of this chaos, Earth's leaders gathered in an underground bunker, faces etched with worry and defeat. The situation was beyond grim. Every conventional defense had been obliterated within moments of the aliens' first strike. The generals, admirals, and politicians, all hardened by years of service, looked at one another, their silence speaking volumes. They knew they were outmatched. The room, once filled with the confident chatter of strategists, was now heavy with the weight of impending doom. There was no escaping the truth. Earth was on the brink of total annihilation. As the room filled with a tense quiet, one voice broke through. It was an idea born of desperation, one that defied all logic but was born from the necessity of survival. If humanity could not match the aliens in strength, they would outmaneuver them in sacrifice. The proposal was simple yet horrifying: send a team of terminally ill veterans on a suicide mission. These soldiers had nothing left to lose. Their bodies had betrayed them with sickness, but their minds and spirits were still sharp, still fierce. They were warriors with nothing to live for but everything to die for. There was hesitation, of course. To send these men and women, heroes who had already given so much, into certain death seemed cruel. Yet, as the alien forces closed in, there was little choice. The mission was conceived not as an act of desperation, but as the last gambit of a species on the edge of extinction. The objective was clear: infiltrate the alien mothership and deploy a doomsday device that would cripple the invaders from within. It was a one-way trip with no hope of return, but it was the only plan that held even the slightest chance of success. The decision was made swiftly. There was no time for lengthy debates, no room for moral dilemmas. The call went out, and the chosen veterans were summoned. They were not the physically strongest, nor the fastest, but they were the bravest. Each one had stared death in the face before, had endured pain beyond comprehension, and now they were asked to do it one last time, for Earth, for humanity. Their selection was not just based on their terminal condition but on their indomitable will to fight until their last breath. They were frail in body, but their spirits were unbreakable. As they gathered for the briefing, the gravity of the mission was laid bare before them. The details were stark, the expectations clear. They would be dropped into enemy territory, navigate through the heart of the alien mothership, and activate the device that would bring the entire structure down. Failure was not an option, but success guaranteed their deaths. Yet not one of them wavered. They listened, absorbed the information, and accepted their fate with a quiet resolve. For these soldiers, this mission was not just about survival. It was about leaving behind a legacy of courage that would inspire those who survived. The room was thick with the weight of what was to come. There were no grand speeches, no declarations of victory. Just a simple understanding among those chosen that they would do what needed to be done. They were Earth's last hope, and they would not fail. As they prepared to depart, each soldier took a moment to reflect, not on what they were leaving behind, but on the duty that lay ahead. They were the weakest soldiers, but in their weakness lay humanity's final strength. The soldiers gathered in a dimly lit room, their expressions somber, as they absorbed the enormity of the mission ahead. Each one of them, despite their deteriorating health, was a veteran of countless battles, warriors who had once stood at the forefront of humanity's defense. But now, they were shadows of their former selves, bodies weakened by illness but minds sharp and determined. As they prepared for what would likely be their final mission, they took a moment to reflect on their pasts. Flashes of their previous lives played through their minds, moments of glory, of comradeship, and of loss. One soldier remembered the battlefield where they had led their unit to victory against impossible odds, only to return home to a diagnosis that would strip them of their strength. Another recalled the pride they had felt when they were awarded the highest honors for bravery, honors that now seemed hollow in the face of their impending demise. They had all been great once, pillars of human resilience, but time and fate had worn them down. Yet, in this mission, they found a new purpose, a chance to give one final service to the Earth they had sworn to protect. As they suited up, there was an unspoken understanding among them. They didn't need to talk about the mission's dangers or the slim chance of survival. Each soldier knew what was at stake and accepted it without hesitation. Their resolve was clear. They were prepared to give everything they had left for the survival of their species. There was no room for fear or doubt, only the determination to see their mission through to the end. Boarding the covert ship, the soldiers felt the weight of the mission settle upon them like a physical burden. The ship's interior was cold and sterile, a stark contrast to the warm memories of the past that still lingered in their minds. As the engines roared to life, each soldier took a final, silent inventory of their gear and their thoughts. The hum of the ship grew louder, drowning out everything but their resolve. They were leaving behind a world they had fought so hard to protect, perhaps for the last time. The journey toward the alien mothership was tense, each moment stretching into an eternity, as they drew closer to their target. The threat of detection loomed over them, a constant reminder that a single misstep could mean the end of their mission, and of Earth. The soldiers remained silent, each one lost in their thoughts, focused on the task at hand. They knew they were heading into the unknown, into the very heart of the enemy's power. The ship moved steadily through the void of space, its course set on a path that offered no return. As they approached the alien mothership, the atmosphere within the ship grew heavier. The soldiers could feel the enormity of their mission bearing down on them. The alien vessel loomed ahead, a monstrous silhouette against the backdrop of the stars. It was both awe-inspiring and terrifying, a structure built for destruction, and they were heading straight for it. There was no turning back now, only the mission and the hope that their sacrifice would be enough to turn the tide. In the final moments before they reached the mothership, the soldiers exchanged glances. No words were necessary. They all understood what was at stake. Their lives, their legacies, and the future of Earth, all of it depended on what they would do next. The ship slowed as it neared the mothership, the tension palpable. Each soldier prepared themselves for the task ahead, pushing aside any lingering doubts or fears. They were ready to face whatever awaited them within the alien vessel, ready to give everything for the chance to save their world. The journey had brought them to the brink, and as they drew near the alien mothership, they steeled themselves for the mission's final phase. There was no turning back. The time for reflection was over. All that remained was the mission and the hope that their sacrifice would not be in vain. The alien mothership loomed above them, its surface an imposing wall of metal and unknown technology. With precision and caution, the soldiers made their approach, bypassing the external defenses through a small, overlooked vent. They had studied every detail, every flaw in the ship's design, and now, as they entered, the true nature of their task became evident. The interior was a stark contrast to anything they had ever seen, sterile, cold, and devoid of any human touch. The walls seemed to pulse with a strange energy, and the air carried an unfamiliar hum, a constant reminder that they were deep in enemy territory. Once inside, the soldiers moved quickly, their training guiding every step. The corridors were vast and labyrinthine, designed not for human navigation but for beings far different. The ship's architecture was both alien and disorienting, with shifting walls and floors that seemed to defy gravity at times. The soldiers pressed forward, using their advanced knowledge of combat and survival to avoid detection. The slightest sound echoed unnervingly in the silence, a constant threat of discovery hanging over their heads. As they navigated deeper into the ship, the first real challenge presented itself. Alien guards, tall and menacing, patrolled the corridors with a precision that left little room for error. The soldiers, though weakened by their conditions, moved with a practiced stealth. They utilized every skill they had honed over their years of service, slipping past the guards, neutralizing threats with quiet efficiency when necessary. Automated defenses were another obstacle, their sensors sweeping the halls for any sign of intruders. The soldiers, well versed in the art of sabotage, found ways to disable these systems, though each encounter chipped away at their dwindling energy reserves. As the mission wore on, the physical and mental strain began to take its toll. Each step forward was a victory, but with it came a rising tide of doubt. The soldiers had always faced death head-on, but now, in the alien ship's heart, the reality of their situation pressed heavily upon them. Memories surfaced unbidden, of battles fought and lost, of friends and comrades who had fallen long before them. These memories were both a source of strength and a painful reminder of all they had lost. Doubt flickered in their minds, questions of whether they could truly succeed, whether their sacrifice would matter in the end. Yet, each time doubt threatened to overwhelm them, they pushed it aside. They had come too far, given too much, to turn back now. The mission was all that mattered. They drew on the lessons of their past, on the discipline that had seen them through countless battles. Their determination hardened with every challenge overcome, with every step closer to their goal. The ship's architecture seemed to twist and shift around them, as if the vessel itself was trying to resist their advance, but they pressed on, their focus unwavering. Finally, after what felt like an eternity of creeping through the ship's endless corridors, they reached their destination, the core of the mothership. The room was vast, dominated by a pulsating energy source that powered the entire vessel. The sight of it brought a mix of relief and dread. They were where they needed to be, but the hardest part was yet to come. Every second they spent in that room was a second closer to discovery, to failure. The soldiers exchanged glances, their faces lined with exhaustion but set with resolve. This was it, the culmination of their mission, the moment they had prepared for. The doomsday device, their final act of defiance against an enemy that had threatened everything they held dear, needed to be deployed with precision. The tension in the room was almost palpable as they set to work, their movements deliberate and calculated. They knew that once the device was armed, there would be no turning back, no escape. But they had accepted that fate long before they had even set foot on this ship. With the device nearly ready, the soldiers took one last moment to prepare themselves for the end. The hum of the ship's core filled the silence, a constant reminder of the life they were about to extinguish, both theirs and the aliens. The final phase of the mission was about to begin, and with it, the hope that their sacrifice would be enough to save the world they had left behind. The room was filled with an eerie silence, broken only by the steady hum of the alien ship's core as the soldiers began the delicate task of setting up the doomsday device. The atmosphere was thick with tension, every movement calculated and precise, as they knew that one wrong step could spell disaster. The device was complex, a piece of human ingenuity designed to bring down the mightiest of foes. Each soldier had a specific role, their hands moving deftly despite the physical toll the mission had already taken on them. Time was their enemy now, each second ticking away, bringing them closer to the point of no return. As the final connections were made, the air grew colder, a chill that seeped into their bones. They were running out of time, and they knew it. The alien technology around them seemed almost alive, as if it sensed the impending threat. Just as the last component was locked into place, a sudden, piercing alarm shattered the silence. The aliens had found them. The soldiers sprang into action, their bodies moving on instinct despite their exhaustion. The aliens swarmed the room, their numbers overwhelming, their advanced weapons ready to annihilate the intruders. But the soldiers, though weakened, fought back with a ferocity born of desperation and determination. They knew this was their final stand, and they fought as if every breath they took was their last. Every shot fired, every blow landed, was a testament to their resolve to see the mission through. The battle was brutal, and the odds were stacked against them. But each soldier had already come to terms with their fate. They covered each other, working in unison as they had in countless battles before, knowing that the success of the mission rested on their ability to hold the line. One by one, they began to fall, each sacrifice buying precious seconds for the others to complete the task. The pain of their injuries was nothing compared to the knowledge that they were giving their lives for something greater. Memories of their pasts, of families, comrades, and the lives they once led, flashed through their minds, but there was no time for regret, only resolve. The device was nearly ready, and only a few soldiers remained standing. Their bodies were failing, but their will remained unbroken. They knew what was coming, and they accepted it with a quiet dignity. Each one understood the weight of their actions, the importance of their sacrifice. They were not just soldiers in that moment, they were humanity's last hope, and they would not falter. With the final sequence initiated, the soldiers took their positions, ready to face the inevitable. The device began to power up, its low hum growing louder, signaling the end. The remaining soldiers exchanged a final glance, a silent acknowledgement of the bond they shared, the mission they had undertaken, and the sacrifice they were about to make. There was no fear in their eyes, only a steadfast resolve. As the device reached its critical point, the mothership shuddered, the energy within the core reacting violently to the human-made disruption. The aliens, realizing too late what was happening, attempted to flee, but it was in vain. The soldiers stood firm, their final act one of defiance in the face of overwhelming odds. The device detonated, a flash of blinding light enveloping everything, and in that instant, the mothership began to collapse. The soldiers, knowing they had fulfilled their mission, faced their end with a sense of peace. Their final thoughts were of Earth, of the world they had given everything to protect. The ship crumbled around them, and in those last moments, there was no fear, only the quiet satisfaction that their sacrifice had not been in vain. The mission was complete, and with it, they had secured the future of humanity. The alien mothership detonated in a cataclysmic explosion, the force of it ripping through the void of space and sending shockwaves through the remaining alien fleet. What was once an indomitable force of destruction was now a chaotic scene of retreat and disarray. Earth's defenders watched from the ground, their eyes fixed on the sky as the alien ships, once so menacing and unchallenged, began to pull back. The tide had turned. The invincible armada that had brought Earth to its knees was now in full retreat, their power shattered by the actions of a few brave souls. As the remnants of the alien fleet vanished into the stars, a sense of relief washed over the people of Earth. The invasion was over, but the cost had been high. News of the mission's success spread rapidly, sparking a wave of both triumph and sorrow. The names of the soldiers who had carried out the mission were on everyone's lips, spoken with reverence and gratitude. They were hailed as heroes, their sacrifice ensuring the survival of humanity. Yet, alongside the celebration, there was mourning. Families who had already lost so much were now faced with the finality of their loved one's ultimate sacrifice. The emotional toll on those left behind was profound. Comrades who had fought alongside the fallen soldiers, families who had prayed for their safe return, and citizens who owed their lives to these brave individuals all felt the weight of their loss. The soldiers had given everything, and in doing so, they had left a void that could never truly be filled. Their story became more than just a tale of sacrifice, it became a symbol of the resilience of the human spirit, a testament to the lengths humanity would go to protect its own. In the days that followed, monuments were erected in cities across the globe. These were not just statues or plaques, they were living memorials, places where people could gather to honor the memory of those who had fallen. The soldiers' names were etched into the annals of history, remembered not only for their bravery but for the selflessness with which they had faced their final moments. Their legacy was one of courage, of standing tall in the face of overwhelming odds, and of finding strength even in the weakest of bodies. The impact of their sacrifice resonated far beyond the immediate aftermath of the battle. Their story inspired a new generation of soldiers and leaders, individuals who looked to the example set by these fallen heroes as a beacon of what it meant to serve with honor. Military academies taught their tactics, not just for their strategic value but for the lessons in courage and determination they embodied. Leaders across the world spoke of the soldiers' sacrifice as a reminder that true strength lies not in physical power, but in the unwavering will to do what is right, no matter the cost. As the world began to rebuild, the memory of the soldiers became a part of the very fabric of human culture. Songs were written, stories told, and traditions established, all in honor of those who had given their lives to save Earth. Their sacrifice became a touchstone, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there is light to be found in the courage of those who refuse to give up. In the alien strongholds, far removed from Earth, the shock of their defeat lingered. The aliens, who had once viewed humanity as a lesser species, now harbored a deep respect and fear for the resilience of the human race. They had underestimated humanity's resolve, and in doing so, had learned a lesson that would not soon be forgotten. The question remained in their minds: how could a species that seemed so weak possess such strength? It was a question that would haunt them, a reminder of the courage that had brought their mighty empire to its knees. In the final reflection, the story of the weakest soldiers became more than just a tale of war. It was a story of sacrifice, of finding strength in the face of insurmountable odds, and of the unexpected power that lies within those who are willing to give everything for a cause greater than themselves. The legacy they left behind was not just one of victory, but of the enduring human spirit, a spirit that, no matter how battered or broken, would never be defeated.